Okay guys, so after posting my goals, I had a lot of people ask what does a whole week of leg training look like for me, because they were wondering how I got to my new squat and deadlift goals. So I'm going to take you through it. Monday is my heavy 5x5 squat day. So what I'm going to do here is basically continuously look to get as heavy as possible by doing 5 sets of 5 and move the weight up each week. If I no longer hit all sets of 5 at that weight, I will continue to do that same weight before upping it again until I get all sets. Now then, my accessory work for the day is simply some pause squats. So as you see here, I'm going to go down, do a pause rep at the bottom, because my weakest point in my squat is when I first come out of the hole. So this is going to teach me really good balance, control and composure in the bottom of the squat and fire up with my glutes. So my next leg day is Wednesday, which is going to be my deadlift 5x5 day. So again, I'm going to work at using as heavy a set as possible, but this time it's only 3x5. Deadlifts are much more taxing on your CNS, so I'm only able to usually get 3 sets up my heavy weight and hopefully hit it all. So today I'm working with 160 kilos for my Wednesday session with deadlifts. After that, I'm also going to do a high rep squat day. So I go 3 sets of 8, and this weight I generally keep the same and have done now for 4 weeks, because if I'm always pushing deadlifts heavier and heavier and heavier, it's unlikely I'm going to be able to push the weight up on squat. So I got 130 kilos for 3 sets of 8. My goal here is to try and get through these 3 sets 8 smoother, with better form and as fast as possible each week, instead of pushing this weight up as well. My goals for moving squat weights up is going to be on the Monday and on the Friday, which is my 2 squat days. Today is extra volume on the squat. However, I am not looking to move the weight up so much. It's more about getting through the set as best as possible after deadlifts, because I'm already taxed from it. Now, probably my favorite day is Friday. This is basically heavy squat day, trying to move as heavy as possible for sets of 3. I start off with 3 sets of 3, and then once that becomes really tough and I'm not sure I can push that weight up any heavier, I start to increase volume by then trying to make 4 sets of 3, then 5 sets of 3. Once I've topped that out, I'll go back to 3 sets of 3 and look at pushing the weight up higher from there. That way, once the weight's getting kind of scary, I can look at increasing the volume with sets instead of just always with the weight. Now, for accessory work on this squat day, I do front squats, really trying to strengthen up my quads. Instead of doing things like leg extensions and stuff like that, far more effective to strengthen my core strength and quads at the same time with front squats, which are a great exercise but are incredibly tough. But I suggest anybody who's especially having trouble getting out of the hole in the squats, try these as an accessory movement to really bring up the quads and power out of the hole. Now my final day is Saturday, so I lift back to back Friday and Saturday. This is where it's my heavy deadlift day. I'm trying to move as heavy as possible for 3 reps. So this day I was doing 170 kilos for sets of 3. So the goal is getting through that weight as fast as possible and as smooth as possible. Now for me, it's quite difficult off the floor. As you'll see, the slowest part of my movement is always as I'm first coming off the ground here. Once it's off the ground, it's pretty easy. If I break the weight off the floor, I'm going to get the lift. So everybody's different, so you should look at incorporating exercises that work on your individual weakness. If you need help with that, contact me, I'll give you a hand. So my weakness is first thing off the ground. So that's where I've started implementing deficit deadlifts. As you'll see, I'm on a plate here, which basically elevates me off the ground slightly. So I actually have to start the movement from a lower or weaker position. This is going to allow me to strengthen myself in my weakest position, which is when I first deadlift off the floor. So these are a real tough exercise for me, and I'm doing sets of 5 here. I do 3 sets of 5 reps, and I'm using 140 kilos for this to really strengthen my speed when I first come off of the ground. So I'll give you another angle just to see exactly what's happening. As you can see, the goal is to really keep your back nice and straight on this. It may be difficult. If you're someone who lacks flexibility, really be cautious if you're thinking about implementing these deficit deadlifts, because as you have to start from a lower position, you require even more mobility and flexibility to get down into a safe starting position and pull from the ground. If you are able to do this though, it's a great exercise to strengthen if you are weak off the floor. So look at adding it into your routine. Now finally, this accessory exercise I use on pretty much all of my days, because I have been a basketball player, so my weak points is my quads. So I always am trying to bring up my hip strength. So this is simply hip thrust here. I've got 200 kilos and I'm doing a set of 5. Now I always finish my last rep with a glute bridge as well, as you see. So I do 5 heavy hip thrusts, and then I move into a glute bridge to hold and stabilize my glutes and really activate them as a final movement. So that's what I do for a week, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you all in the next video.